Welcome to the Leading Edge Podcast with Eric Thompson.
Inspire, perform, profit.
Hey there, what's happening, everybody? This is episode number 17. This one is special because I am going to let you listen in on a podcast I was invited to. So this is both a podcast and a Facebook Live. It's hosted by two amazing people, my really good friend Justin Knoll. Justin is the chair of the Colorado Association of Realtors and the president of Madison and Company Real Estate. They are a really fantastic real estate brokerage company in Denver. And the other person you're going to hear is Josh Williams. Josh is a lender with Universal Lending, so he's a senior loan officer with them, also a market leader for them. And he is also just an all-around world-class, terrific person. And so what you're going to hear is them interviewing me on a weekly show they do called Win, Success Leaves Clues. And we had a ball doing this. We had a blast. And I thought this would be really good for you to hear this interview. I think there's some good nuggets here, some good takeaways. And so we are going to take it away and flip it over to the recording of this podcast. The first person you're going to hear is Justin. So Justin Knoll, again, is going to do the intro, and then you're also going to hear my voice, obviously, and also Josh Williams' voice. Hey, I really hope that you enjoy this. Hope that you get a lot out of it, and we'll catch you in the next podcast. Thanks.
We ready to roll?
Let's get it.
We're live. What's
Yes,
up, y'all?
sir.
Well, today we're super excited. It's a beautiful spring day outside. Just happy it's Friday.
Yes, it is.
I am so excited for today. We've got one of my favorite people in the whole entire world, not just the real estate industry, but the entire world. You won't meet a nicer guy. You won't meet anybody that wants people's success more than they do usually, and that's willing to give every ounce of his self to getting people to that next level. Eric Thompson, my friend, thank you.
What's up?
Thank you for
Good to see you,
being
my man.
here. This is
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here.
So happy you said yes when we asked you to be on this.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah, so we're going to talk all kinds of stuff today. Obviously, you're big into leadership. You're big in the real estate world. You've done all kinds of stuff. You're an author. You run a podcast. You're a dad and a husband, more importantly. So we're going to talk all kinds of stuff. But,
Cool.
man, I'm just excited.
So I'm curious real quick if
here's
it is
Josh.
more importantly the husband part or the dad part.
And what is it, right?
I don't know. There's a balance there, and I was kind of curious
balance.
where you were going with that, and I was like, well, we'll just let Justin roll.
Yeah, because I'm probably not great at either one, so I'm going to listen to you guys today.
I love it. No, we are excited. Justin is, I've known you a little bit, but Justin has told me way more than I've ever known, and so I'm really excited to sit down with you and kind of just learn from you today, and and hear from some of the things you got to say. So, and you brought us some really cool little.
Man,
I
I
did. I
a
came
no
very
drama
gifts
zone.
for
Yes,
guys. Yeah. That's
we like that no drama zone.
Right?
Justin and I both live with a lot of women, and so that is super important to us to have a no drama zone. Yes.
You're getting yourself in trouble right now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Yeah, right.
I'll have a text as soon as I get out of here.
Williams, right there.
Trisha, I love you. I love
WILLIAMS.
you, my wife, and my 4 daughters. I love you all.
So, how do you live a no drama life at home? I guess. Like, what is that? Because you have
You know what?
daughters. Tell us about your life at home.
You know what? The key to no drama is to keep dramatic people out of your life. I mean, right?
There it is.
Simple,
Right?
right?
There it is,
It is
right
that simple,
there.
whether it's at home or in business.
Yeah.
I'm blessed with an amazing wife, Julie, who you know. She's incredible. You and I both married up.
Yeah, we did.
I'm guessing you did
Yes,
too.
Josh,
for sure.
absolutely
Josh,
did.
yeah, for sure.
Way
I
up
mean,
under
I
my
know,
coverage,
Yeah. You definitely married up. And so Julie's my second wife, and I tell you what, I got it wrong the first time and
too.
got it right the second time. So the first time around, I had a ton of drama
Yeah.
in the marriage, and so I was like, how about I marry an undramatic person? Because I think that I'm probably biased, but I think that I'm an undramatic person. So I'm
Yeah.
like,
Good luck.
why don't I just marry somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of drama going on? And so that's really the key. So we just
How's that so simple? Like, I was expecting
Right,
some
exactly.
algebraic formula.
No algebra,
Yeah,
man.
just no, keep drama away.
It's pretty simple, yeah.
So-
Yeah, and same in business too, man. I just so believe in keeping the drama out of the business world, keeping it out of the office, out of the culture.
Yep.
And the key to that is just don't invite dramatic people into the company. And if you make a mistake, and I have a lot,
Yeah.
then you have to take it upon yourself to excuse them from the scene, right? So
Without fear, hesitation, right? I mean,
with a whole lot of fear, with a ton of fear.
It is tough, especially in our world when you have somebody in your culture or maybe in your company that drives good revenue or is good for the bottom line in some cases, but really not good for the culture side. You do have to make those choices.
Yeah, I tell you a quick story. So I once, this is several years ago, I had to fire the second top producing agent in my company. And the bottom line was he was just a bad dude. Like he was a jerk. He was a jerk to the staff. He was a jerk to other realtors. And I struggled with it because I knew it was going to be a huge impact financially.
Yeah.
And hemmed and hawed, but hindsight, hemmed and hawed for way too long.
Yeah.
And when I did it, when I finally worked up enough muster to do it, when I did it, like the next day, like the staff had this bounce in their step and this big smile on their face, and people were so happy. And that's when all the other stories come out, like all the other things that, well, here's another thing that they did, and it's like, well, why didn't I know that before? But yeah, that's huge, right? You gotta get rid of the bad people.
Addition by subtraction.
Totally.
So. All right. So give us some background. So you say you've got a real estate company. So I've known you for a long time. You've been a leader everywhere you've gone. So you started in Vail.
No, actually started a few minutes from here. So we're kind of in South Denver. I grew up close by here. My dad was in real estate.
Yep.
He was with Moore and Company. That a lot of people watching remember that company from back in the day.
All stars.
And you and I were at Bill Moore's funeral service a few months ago. It's too bad that he passed. An amazing guy. And so I grew up around real estate and went to CU and got into real estate pretty much right out of college, right? Yeah, go Buffs, baby. Go Buffs. Got the new coach. And
that's right.
Rolling. Yeah.
That's right.
Josh and I couldn't get into CU, but we root for him. we're excited for you.
That's true. We're going to keep going. Go ahead. Keep going.
Right.
All right, so CU, Boulder.
Then real estate right after. So this is my 25th year in real estate. Yeah, so sold for several years, started with builders, so started by working on site with builders, model homes and sales trailers and that whole thing.
Okay.
And then that led me to the mountains. So in 1999, I moved to Breckenridge. I was in real estate up there.
Okay.
That was amazing. 10 years in real estate in Breckenridge and, living the dream life and, the outdoor lifestyle and, the market. You think about that 10 years from 99 to 2009, that was quite a 10 years. And resort real estate, big ups, big downs. Learned a ton. And so during that time, that's when I got into running brokerages and just had a ball up there.
So what led you into running a brokerage? I mean, was it something you wanted to do or did you just gravitate to, or did you just find the natural step was, because you see it a lot in real estate, right? The top producer ends up going into some form of management or something, and then it just kind of morphs from there. Was there a draw for you?
Yeah, there was a draw, but more than anything, it was someone who saw potential in me, and she kind of tapped my shoulder and said, "Hey, I think that you'd be good at in leadership management role."
Yeah.
And maybe I'd had those thoughts in my head, but when she said it, it was so meaningful to me because she was like one of my heroes. She was incredible. Learned a ton from her, and so when this person who I totally looked up to said that to me, like, "Hey, I think that you have this in you," it was like, "Oh my God!" Like, this person who I respect so much is saying that, so that's kind of what started it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
First initial thought when she said that, was it holy shit, or was it this is
dude
awesome?
It was all the above. It was a holy shit,
this is awesome.
Holy shit, this is okay. So here's a story. So one of my first roles in management, I was leading a team of 4 people.
Okay.
And over lunch, I would leave for lunch to go get lunch, and then I would sit in my car before going back to the office. I would sit in my car at least for a half hour, and I would have to, work up the courage to go back to the office. Like, oh my God, like these people are depending on me.
Oh gosh.
Like, who am I to be in this role? And I look now at the kind of the size of the team, but I was so out of my element, so out of my comfort zone. So I think that's been a trend for me. Like, at each new position I've had, it has been initially it's been way out of bounds for me in terms of what I'm comfortable with. But eventually, you figure it out and you kind of grow into it and you learn from your mistakes and that kind of thing.
I'm curious how you did that. So I think we've all at some point in our careers been at that point, like, oh my gosh, like these guys are counting on me to lead them, right? So what was it what'd you think about in that half hour in your car? I mean, what was it like? What the hell am I going to do for the rest half of the day?
Yeah,
like,
I thought about running away
is
is what I thought about.
Right. Will they notice if I don't come back?
Yeah. Well, what I eventually figured out, it took me a long time, what I eventually figured out is that you just have to make it totally about them, right?
Yeah.
You have to stop making it about yourself. Just make it totally about them. You know, what do they want to do? What do they want to accomplish? How do they want to grow? And when you make it about them, then that's where the magic really happens, right?
That's so awesome. And so, all right, so you're in that position. You're in Breckenridge. You've got some leadership stuff going. You're starting to build credibility within the industry. People are starting to notice who you are. And then the next step for you, you come down to the Front Range, right?
Yeah.
So what happened then? Where'd you go? What'd you do?
Yeah, so this is a cool story. So in the mountains, I was with Slifer Smith and Frampton, one of the premier companies in the country.
Yep.
Really known in the resort world, and had a leadership role with them. And along the way, I got to know Larry Kendall, who's the founder of the group and also the author of Ninja Selling. So Larry was coming up to the mountains to host trainings, and I was going to Fort Collins to his company to attend his training. So he and I just got to know each other. So now imagine the summer of 2009, and imagine what the resort markets are doing in the summer of 2009. Like the resort market was bad, right? It was super bad. And so what was on my mind as I was running this company is, boy, as we're having to make all these changes, what was on my mind is it'd be great to talk to Larry, just to bounce some things off of him. He's a great sounding board. Yep. So he and I ran into each other in all places of the Spokane, Washington airport. Wow. We just bumped into each other there. I was there on vacation in Coeur d'Alene. He was up there training ninja, and we were both flying home, and we bumped into each other at the airport. It's the old "there are no accidents." So I said to him, "Hey, I've been thinking lately it'd be great to get together with you. Can I buy you lunch?" So we had lunch a couple weeks later, and at that lunch he said, "You know what? We're thinking about hiring a new president at the group real estate. I think you should apply." And my jaw like hit the floor because it's him and it's the group and it's a big deal.
Real holy shit.
Yeah, it's like really holy shit. Yeah, speaking of getting out of your comfort zone, so that was the summer of 2009. In November of 2009, Julie and I were moving from Breckenridge to Fort Collins, and I was the new president of the group. That was an amazing time that I had there.
So for those of you who don't know, these are, as he said, the Slifer Smith Frampton group is one of the most highly respected resort brokerages out there, if not just overall brokerages. And then you go to the group, which is nationally known, one of the highest production per agent companies in the nation. There's not a lot of rookies there. I mean, your game elevated quickly. What was that learning curve like, and were you in over your head at any point, or did you feel like, man, this is the right place for me?
Oh, I was in over my head the whole time.
Were you?
And what was similar between Slifer Smith and Frampton and the group, and also Windermere, where I am now, is that all those places they're all about productivity. Yeah. And so Slifer is known as like volume per agent, one of the top producing companies in the whole country. The group, in terms of number of sites per agent, one of the top in the whole country. So have that in common. That's true for Windermere too. We're famous for our productivity. So like that has been like the common theme for me, to be at places where the bar is higher, like where the expectations are way higher. And it's not people dabbling in real estate and seeing it as a hobby, like people who are full on.
Yeah. So tell us about that process, right? So I love that you're doing. I mean, you're raising the bar every time you're moving somewhere, so you have to make adjustments to what you're doing. So you went from running. Was you still at a team of 4 at that point?
No. Okay. So when I moved from Breckenridge, that team was 40 people. So I was running
4 to 40. No big deal.
So I was running Summit County for Slifer Smith and Frampton. So like Breckenridge and Keystone and Frisco. I was running that division for Slifer Smith and Frampton. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So then you go to the group, and how many agents we got in the group?
At the time, there were 160, and then when I left, there were a little over 200.
So talk to us about the process of preparing for that. Because that's a big deal, man. You're going, even if you're going from 4 to 40, from 4 to 8, then 40, and then you're going from 40 to 100 plus to 200 plus. How are you preparing yourself to be the best leader in that particular role?
You know what? It's first just being all in, committed to growing yourself. Like if you want, I just so believe if you want more out of life, you have to be bigger yourself. Yeah. And so like that really vaulted for me like this path of self-improvement and really honing my own skills. Yeah. The big difference for me was you go from managing salespeople to managing managers.
Yes.
And that's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. You know, from being a salesperson to a manager is different, but then from being a manager to managing managers is different too.
Yeah.
And so that is a whole lot about process and, all right, what is our leadership system, and what are the goals that we're tracking? What are we focused on? What's our communication pattern? Like, all those things are huge.
Yeah. So tremendous amount of success of the group. Your level of expertise went through the roof. Your credibility around the state and around the nation went through the roof. I mean, you're very well known in the industry at this point. And then something switched. And so here we are today. You've got a whole new thing that you've been working on for a few years.
Yeah.
And so what was that transition like? Was there a moment in time where you just said, you know what, I've got to go this direction rather than the one I'm in?
Yeah, the big difference what I'm doing now with Windermere is that it's way more entrepreneurial. So
Yes.
Up until Windermere, I had been an employee. Even though I'm in a sales organization, and even though back in the day when I was selling it, I was independent contractor living on commission, but then I had been an employee. Now I'm full-on entrepreneur. So
Yeah.
I own my own Windermere franchise. I also oversee our growth in the state of Colorado, which is an entrepreneurial structure.
Yep.
So I've gone from working for the figurative man, to being totally on my own thing. So it's
being the man.
Yeah, to being the man, right? So so it's, I guess the difference is my own skin is in the game. I had to put my own investment in to make this go, and so I mean that's super exciting, right? It's exhilarating to do it that way.
I want to key in on this, and I think Josh and I are in alignment on this, is we've got somebody in front of us who had something in place that was pretty good, right? It's pretty good, and most people would say, man, that's tough to walk away from or give up, or maybe it didn't work out and you guys weren't in alignment, whatever it was. But now to go, all right, this is a moment in time I have to decide. Am I going to work for the man, or am I going to be the man, in essence?
Right.
And so what was your process going through that? What really kicked you into gear to say, I got this and I'm not looking back? And obviously there was fear, there's emotions, there's all this craziness, but what pulled you through? I know what the answer probably is going to be, besides your family and wife.
My wife.
Yeah, number one is typically
She grabbed it and was like, let's go.
But what else did you lean on at that time? So I guess there's multiple questions here. Is what was that process like? What triggered you to say, I got this, I can do this, and I'm not looking back? And then what pulled you through?
It was scary as hell, for sure, no doubt. Scary as hell, because it was so different than anything I'd ever done before. Scary, and also I totally believed it was the right thing to do. And what got me through, in addition to Julie, is I had all this background experience and all these relationships and connections. And what I saw was the opportunity to build something in the way I'd always wanted to do it. Yeah. Like every other case, I'd kind of inherited something, or I'd, building off of someone else's structure. And it was like, man, I could do this exactly how I want, get the kind of people that I want, set it up how I want. Yeah. Aligned with the company Windermere, who I so believe in culturally, and our values are just like right in step. So it's like the opposite of this big corporate company, so what it doesn't work for me is like a lot of things imposed on me, and a lot of rules. I can't stand that. I like a lot of autonomy. So Windermere was going to give me that, and the freedom to build it how I want. So it was just the excitement, and also the vision of what it would be to finally have the chance to do it my way.
Yeah.
So
that was always in your head.
Yeah.
And you had a vision of what it would be, what it would look like.
Yeah.
And now here's your chance to take it by the horns and
right.
build it.
Yeah.
And you did.
Yeah.
So many people don't take that chance. So many people walk away. I was listening to a podcast this morning. They said if you interviewed 90-year-olds across the board and they said, what do you regret most? It's always 100% of the time going to be the risks I didn't take.
That's right. Yeah.
Always. And we don't live in that. And so... man, I'm just I'm on fire with just this energy that you exude.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, when you take leaps like that, the amount that you grow is amazing. Like the amount I've grown over the last 5 years, and the things I've learned, all from the mistakes I made. Oh my gosh. The mistakes over the last 5 years, quadruple the mistakes in the previous 20 years, right? But it's from all those hard times.
That's
that you
true
learn.
growth,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not trying.
Yeah, right.
That's
You've
awesome.
mentioned 3 times I was scared. That was some scary shit. That was scary. But, it's kind of like the story of the bull, right? How did you get yourself prepared to run to the storm, right? Because it seems like you're I was scared. I don't care.
Yeah.
This is my vision. This is what I want to get.
Yeah.
How did you get yourself prepared to go say, all right, let's go. Let's run at it.
It's this belief that, okay, no matter what, Julie's going to have my back, no matter what. No matter what, my kids are going to love me. And bigger than anything, probably the biggest thing I've learned, is no matter what, I will have my own back.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like, I'll take it. I'll take the haters. I'll take whatever the humiliation. I'll take the failures. I'll take the mistakes. I'll take the criticism. That's fine because I'm going to have my own back.
Yeah.
So I would say that's the biggest thing I've learned. So knowing that allows you to like step into the super scary situation, because at the end of the day, all it is a feeling. Like, that's the only risk that you're taking is feeling something.
Right.
And so if you say, all right, I'm willing to feel that, it's okay because I'm going to have my own back no matter what. Like, the opposite of that would be like totally beating yourself up. That's what I think ultimately keeps people from doing scary things or challenging things, is that they're worried about beating themselves up. And all the torture that goes along with that. So
that's incredible, by the way.
Oh my God,
that's
I'm
huge.
Like,
that's freaking awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm so pumped, dude. This is awesome. So I want to ask a couple things. So you manage a lot. You've got how many agents and how much staff under you now?
So in Colorado, Windermere, we now have 70 agents, and we have about 15 staff in the state.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're Fort Collins to Denver.
Yeah, so as far north as Fort Collins, as far south as Centennial.
Yeah.
So a total of 5 offices.
It's fantastic. And growing.
In growing, yeah, absolutely.
The right way.
Yeah.
So you deal with a lot of people. So obviously you find some common threads between people, but a couple of questions I have is, what are salespeople that you see on a daily, what are they most afraid of?
This is a fun one. What I find, and I think this is true for not just real estate, it's really true of any salesperson, that what I think salespeople are most afraid of is being cheesy and pushy and salesy, right? They're afraid. What I see is that they're afraid of being that stereotypical used car salesperson.
Totally.
Like, I just see it all the time, and they're like, Eric, whether they say this exactly or not, what they're communicating is, Eric, I don't want to be that guy, or I don't want to be that woman. And so that locks them up because they're so afraid of coming across that way, especially to their friends and their family. So that, like, a red flag for me when I work with realtors is when they're unwilling to engage with their friends and family about real estate. And when they're more willing to talk to strangers and engage with strangers about real estate and someone's real estate needs compared to their friends, that is a massive red flag for me. That tells me that they have that fear going on. So they... by the way, how I help overcome that, the key to that. Yeah. So I say the opposite of being cheesy and pushy and salesy is to be helpful. That's the opposite. Yeah. And so the way you be helpful, and you've heard me say this before, the way you be helpful is my 5 most favorite words in sales, which are, would it be helpful if? Would it be helpful if? So that those 5 words like unlock all this potential. It gets you out of being cheesy. It forces you to be empathetic, because it forces you to see the world through someone else's eyes. Like, it forces you to think about, all right, what really would be helpful to that person? Right. If I'm inside their head, seeing the world through their eyes, what is it that would be helpful? It forces you to consider that instead of considering yourself and what's in it for you. Right. Like, you can consider what would be helpful, then you offer up, would it be helpful if this or that? And then the other beauty of those 5 words is that it automatically creates a next step. So by definition, there's a next step built in, because they say yes to the thing on would it be helpful if, and now you have to go fulfill that promise. Now you have to go follow up on that. So whether it's a newsletter that you promise or a CMA or whatever, like, there needs to be a next step to follow up. So that I find really helps people out to get them. I just say, look, the opposite of being pushy and cheesy and salesy is to be helpful. So just be helpful.
It's so funny. I'm sitting here kind of smiling and giggling because I can reflect back on several conversations we've had that have ended or been close to the end of the conversation with, would it be helpful if? So I'm like, shit, I was getting
worked You know, I love it. So when I'm talking with my loan officers and saying, hey, you guys, the first appointment is to set the second appointment, right? You know, and the first appointment you just shut up and listen, and you want to learn and do those things, but it's that transition to the second appointment, and you just totally fix that for me and every other lender listening, right? Is like, because it's hard to get the second appointment. It's hard to figure out what that next step is once you've learned it all stuff and you're like, okay, I've digested this, I've got solutions.
Right.
How do I present the solutions, right?
Yeah.
Well, would it be helpful if?
Would it be helpful if? Yeah.
That's amazing.
So another belief I have, and another thing I coach related to what you were just saying, is let the process do the work.
Yeah.
Let the process do the work. So oftentimes salespeople are locked up, feeling the burden of all the work that they have to do. And there's a lot of work in sales. Like there's a lot of work being a realtor or whatever, any kind of sales that you're in. But don't carry the burden of like, oh man, now I have to. What am I going to do to create this next appointment? What am I going to say? Map out a process and just like put that process into place and let that process do the work. So it starts with would it be helpful if, then you deliver the thing, and now that thing is doing a lot of the work. That packet of information or whatever it is that you're delivering, let that process do the work.
That's incredible. That is like something that, in any sales, right?
Yeah.
Any sales. People can implement that and utilize that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could sell a car and be like, would it be helpful if you had air conditioning?
Right.
Sure as hell would be. Right.
Or would it be helpful if I showed you how the payments work on a car like this?
It's awesome.
So back in the day when I was selling new homes, in the price range I was in, it was mostly first-time buyers.
Yeah.
And so my close, how I had success is I would just ask someone if they'd want to see how payments work. Because I'm talking to a renter, they have no clue about even how homeownership works.
Yeah.
So I would just say, hey, would it be helpful if I showed you kind of how this works? And they say, yeah, sure. So then that means you get to sit down, and that means you're having a better conversation with them, and you're drawing for them and showing them how it works, and then you become this great resource of information and this value add person as opposed to being like the pushy salesy person.
And now you're an advocate.
You're an advocate, yeah.
So is this in the book? I mean, you wrote this book. And
I wrote this book right here.
And the book is super attractive because it's
not to plug
small,
the book or anything.
And it's like, how many pages is that right there?
This book, I think, is about 80 pages.
I mean, so I'm already excited.
Yeah, very good.
It's small. I've heard there's no pictures of
no
colors.
pictures,
I'm a little upset about that, but I'll get through it.
Yeah.
I was thinking I could, it's real estate. I could color some houses or something, draw some little people in there. But do you share some of those things in your book that we're talking about right now?
Absolutely.
Tell us the name of the book, where people can get it too.
Yeah. Thank you.
So cool.
Thanks for letting me plug the book.
Yeah, hell yeah.
The book is called The Real Estate Agent's Guide to Getting Your Act Together. It's kind of a fun title I came up with.
Kind of a perfect title.
The website where someone can get the book is getyouracttogetherbook.com. So getyouracttogetherbook.com. Yeah. So now you're seeing a printed version. I now have an ebook version of this, so someone can download it right from there. $7 to download it.
That's what I got. It's so cool. It's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
all right. So you're a published author. You run a podcast as well.
Yeah.
Let's do a little more plugging for you because I think there's. So, and then I want to get back into some detailed questions. This is so good. But tell me about the podcast. What's going on there?
Yeah. So, I've been thinking for about a year about doing a podcast, and the old, gosh, it'd be cool if, or what if, I wonder if, and finally one day I'm like, I'm going to do a podcast. So I just did the research. But I also didn't overwhelm myself with the research. Yeah. Went out and bought a microphone, got the software I needed, figured out how to host it, and I think I'm 15 episodes in, so I release them every Friday.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm close to 1,000 downloads now, which is kind of
huge.
cool.
Yeah.
And man, I've found it to be. I'll encourage people listening and watching to do a podcast. I mean, do things like this. Like, I find that all these surprises, like people that I had no idea were engaging with it, will like write me a note or write me an email or call me, or I'll see them in passing, like, hey man, that podcast you did last week was amazing. In my head, I'm like, holy crap, you're listening. You were listening to a podcast. Right. So it's been a cool way, I think, for people to get to know me even better, and even for my own people to get to know me even better. I know my own people listen to it. So people I don't know as well, they're getting to know me better, and even people I do know well.
It's so cool.
Get to know me better. Yeah,
it's so cool. I was on it and had a chance to answer some questions. Certainly not as free flowing as this one. You were
awesome, man.
You run a tight ship, and it was so much fun. But yeah, I love listening to it. I mean, there's so many good nuggets. I'm scribbling notes over here like crazy right now. So, all right, so I want to get back into. So, all right, tell us. They can find that anywhere. The podcast.
They can. It's on iTunes, and they can also find it on my Facebook page.
Awesome.
So it's Eric Thompson, The Leading Edge.
Yeah.
is the name of that Facebook page where they can find that and some other stuff.
And if people can't find it, then they just shouldn't listen. It's pretty easy. That easy, right? So, all right. So you deal with a lot of high producers in your company. You're not bringing on brand new agents.
Not
or
a lot.
working with.
Not a lot. It's pretty rare. Yeah.
And so I love that approach as well. But what do you notice when you're dealing with all these high producers? What do you notice as a common thread between them?
You know, a fun one that I like to mention that I notice all the time among top producers, and I would guess, Justin, this is true in Madison as well. What I notice is that the top producers are totally comfortable in their own skin.
100%.
And really what that means is they are authentic to their own personality. So they're not trying to be someone that they're not.
Yeah.
And they own themselves and who they are. So like if you were to think about the top 20 realtors within Madison, like 20 rock stars, right? I would bet you there are 20 totally different personalities, right? All across the board.
Yeah.
Like all kinds of shapes and sizes, different styles, different genders, different ages, different kinds of cars they drive, different ways they dress, different dialogues.
Yep.
But I would guess what they all have in common is that they really own being themselves. And Josh, probably the same for you. If you think about the top lenders that you know, probably the same thing. So I think the best advice for any realtor, really any salesperson, is just be yourself.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. Just own yourself. And sure, there are things you can learn from other top performers, and you'd be like, yeah, that seems to be working for them. Don't like flat out copy it.
Right.
Think about, all right, what would be my version of that? How would that sound coming out of my mouth? What's Eric's version of that? So that's what I did. A lot of is I would listen and watch what other people would do, and then I would just make it my own.
Yeah. And
so top people, they totally own their own personality. They're comfortable being themselves, and they don't try to fake it. I had a mentor of mine say to me once, and this is like super profound. He said to me, "Hey Eric, drop the pose. You're only fooling people that don't care about you."
Wow.
And I was like, smack upside the head. Can you imagine?
You're
Somebody saying that to you?
Yeah.
Drop the pose. You're only fooling people that don't care about you.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, that just goes in life, right? Or in sales or not,
right.
In your home, in your business. Just be yourself. Drop the pose. Because so often we're all posing. And believe me, I still, even after that coaching, I still do it too.
Yeah.
You know, we build up this, this persona of how we want to come across. Just be yourself.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, half the stuff I started doing, and that's the other thing is a lot of people, half the stuff I started doing was because I saw somebody else do it, right? And I loved it. And I was like, that's awesome. How can I do that? And how can I make that my own, right? Gavin Higashi, amazing title guy in the state of Colorado, does a positive insights video. And I'm like, Gavin, I love that. Can I copy you? And he goes, yeah, just figure it out on your own. And I'm like, dude, I can do that all day.
Yeah.
So I created Passing the Positive, right, where I just do one-on-one interviews of positive insights. But the other thing that people are scared of is to take something that someone else did and try to make it their own. Yeah. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do that. He's already doing that.
Right.
Well, I can't do a podcast. Eric's already doing a podcast.
Right.
Like, how do you get yourself to the point where you're like, I'm going to go ahead and do that?
Yeah. Well, and the other form of that is, well, I'll never be that person.
Right.
So I can't. So that's another like invented excuse people come up with. I think it kind of goes back to what we said before. Just do it.
Yeah.
And another thing that I think is important, whether it be a podcast or like Facebook Live videos or whatever, you got to get the shitty ones out of the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So you just know that the first.
So there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Is what you're saying.
The first few are gonna suck.
Right.
You just got to know that, and like I look back at some of the very first videos that I was doing back a few years ago.
Oh my gosh!
Like,
right.
Oh, terrible. I mean, not to say that the ones I do now are this amazing thing, but I've come a long way. Those were terrible, but you have to do the terrible ones so that you can see it and then learn from it. Like you have to do that. Like we all learn to walk by falling on our butt a lot.
Yeah.
You have to do it. Yeah, here we are.
So you're not afraid to fall.
Oh yeah, I am. I still get afraid.
Yeah.
And I guess, I guess what's worse is to never do it. Like I don't want to have that regret.
Yeah.
So athletics are a big part of your life.
Yeah.
You're a maniac bike rider, skier, outdoors all the time. I mean, you're always telling me about these things you're doing. I'm like, good Lord. How does that help you? I mean, does it help your mind? Does it obviously physically? And then what parallels do you see between the high level of performance athletically and business and life?
Yeah, I think so. Riding my bike, I love to ride my bike. It's definitely one of my things.
Yeah, and guys, this is not like just tooling around the neighborhood riding your bike. Like it is intense.
This is road bike. You get out there.
Road bike.
Road and mountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It is. Yeah.
Well, know that I like whenever I race, I definitely get my butt handed to me by plenty of people. So I'm not like at the top of my game, but it is my thing. What I love about biking is that it's where I get my best ideas.
Yeah.
I always these brainstorm ideas will hit me, and it's, you're just out there, just you and the bike, and you're out there in cool scenery and exercising. There's something about like pedaling and like the rhythm of that's just like comforting to your mind. So so biking is big, and then skiing for me, really that's like our family thing. Like we love to ski. That's what we do as a family. I joke and say the reason why we have 2 kids is because we're a 1 chairlift family. Yeah. And we, if we had more than 2 kids, we'd have to be on 2 chairlifts. So that's wouldn't work out. So it's pretty
no
awesome.
More kids?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no more kids.
I'm like a 3 chairlift.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, right.
That's good. Yeah. All right, so you've got this group of family and friends that have supported you your entire life and lifted you up. It's been there for you. Looking back as a kid, when you were just a little guy, the people that knew you then, would they be surprised in what you're doing now?
Oh, dude.
Freaking out?
Yeah. So, again, I grew up just like 10 minutes from where we're sitting right now. Yeah. So I grew up down in South Denver, down in the burbs, like I-25 and Arapahoe Road. Yeah. And, man, when I was a kid, I was so, like, shy, like painfully shy, super shy, crazy shy.
Really?
Crazy shy. Crazy shy. So the funny story there is, if you remember the song, do you remember the song Too Shy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember that one-hit wonder? Kaja Gugu was the name of the band. Yeah. So the girls on the school bus used to sing that to me on the school bus. So, awesome. I mean, to think that I do stuff like this.
Here comes Eric, Too Shy.
Right, seriously, yeah. Yeah, so funny now, not so funny back then.
Yeah.
But,
so what changed? Is there something that, we grow up hating onions and then we start loving onions as adults, right? That's just what I see with kids.
That's kind of true.
Was it just something you grew into, or did you have to really work at it?
Oh, dude, I had to work at it.
You did?
Yeah, totally had to work. But I knew I had to work at it. But I knew what was happening is I was becoming myself. Yeah. Because like that shy thing, or things that I wasn't doing, or things that were held back, those were just like layers of insulation that I was throwing up around me. Yeah. So I think for me, as life has gone on, it's like been stripping off those layers of insulation, like becoming more and more like myself. So my point is I didn't have to like grow into this person that I wasn't. Yeah. Like I just believe and feel like I've become even more like myself as time has gone on. Like you shed these other layers. But man, I totally had to work on it. Totally.
Me and Justin are constantly trying to work on shedding layers. We always put somebody in the middle of us that shed layers.
It's looking all right.
He said you're looking all right.
Yeah. He's like, get on a bike. You got a Peloton at home? Go.
Go get some good thoughts going.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. No, this is fantastic. The last thing I will ask is, you and I have a lot of conversations, and they always come back to the leadership side of things. Yeah. No matter where we are, whether it's home, whether it's in another group or in business, it seems to be we always discuss leadership. But what do you think a leader is responsible for truly?
Yeah, boy, a lot of things that leaders own and things that they're responsible for. The first thing that comes up for me is leaders own the environment. Leaders are totally responsible for the environment. So we're sitting inside a real estate office right now making this, and so I would guess, Justin, you feel responsible for the environment inside of these 4 walls. Yeah. And what I believe is if you get the environment right, then amazing things will happen within that environment. But you have to get the environment right first. Yeah. And so people can grow and they can do amazing things as long as they're inside of a really terrific environment. So an environment without drama, an environment that nurtures them, an environment where they grow and learn, and an environment of high energy and positivity, and an environment where other people are there to raise the bar and to challenge them and to push them. So what I know is that when the environment is off, if there's something funky going on in the environment, man, that's on me. That's totally on me.
Okay.
A good example of that is a sales meeting. A sales meeting is a small version of that, of environment. So you can just feel it in the room in a sales meeting. If it's sales meeting, it's got a good vibe and good thing going on. You can feel that. If it doesn't, you can definitely feel it. So if if I'm hosting a sales meeting where I don't feel that, then in my head I'm like, okay, this is on me. I'm doing something that's messing up the environment. So get the environment right, and then everything else really flows from there.
That's huge insight right there. That's wow, that's so good, because I will tell you, I've been in meetings that I'm like, this is great. We're flowing. This is amazing. Then you get some meetings you're like a stand-up comedian that has no jokes. And you're like, this is horrible. Right? And so you're like, which direction do we go from here? So that's huge insight. And I've never really thought, hey, Josh, I mean, I know that in my office I control the moods and the no drama zone. I mean, for the most part, right? But if you set it from the beginning, which sounds like you do that with every company you've been in with, you set that at the very start.
That's the mission, and have we gotten it 100%? No. Have I made mistakes? Yeah. But that's always the mission. I'm clear about what it is I want, where I want to get it, and you just got to keep striving toward that. It really comes down to commitment, right? You got to commit to it.
So with that commitment, what's next for you guys? What's coming up on the horizon? What are you guys focusing on? What are you guys getting after?
So at Windermere, it's growth across the state, and just bringing more great people onto our team. And I'm also really growing my training and coaching platform called The Leading Edge, just a way to get my message, get my content out to people further away geographically, and it's also a way to get them introduced to Windermere as well, in a totally non-threatening way, but in a value-add way. So those two things I'm focused on. So growing our company and growing my training and coaching that I'm doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and specifically coaching coaches. That's something I'm really, really into. So I love to coach real estate agents, and I also love to coach coaches. That gets me super fired up, because I know about all the leverage that's there. If you can help one coach or manager be better, now you've impacted however many people that they manage, right? So it's like this spider web thing.
So you open up a whole nother thing with that comment. Thank you, appreciate that. Man, when you're coaching coaches come sometimes with egos. Coaches come sometimes with, hey, I mean, the good thing is they probably humble themselves a little bit to ask for a coach, right? But you've got to deal with a lot of different personalities, just like you do within the workforce and managers. How do you prepare for that? I mean, if you're just getting ready to meet someone for the first time, what are you doing to prepare yourself for that?
If I'm going to coach a coach?
Yep.
One of my favorite tools is the self-assessment. So it's just a list of attributes and a list of skills that someone needs to do their job. And then I have them score themselves 1 out of 5 on those things. So then it allows you to get really focused in the conversation. So then you're not just talking about something, you're really specific on what you're focused on. So that's one of my very favorite coaching tools.
That's incredible.
Self-assessment. Yeah.
There's so many times I've written down stuff here where I'm like, okay, you got to stop talking because I haven't finished writing down what you just said. Eric, can we pause for a second, please?
Sorry.
But man, I just got to tell you, this was one of the best 45 minutes I've spent on this podcast, learning from you and things that you put in place. It has been a ton of fun. And I just appreciate you coming out, man. It's been awesome.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should probably do another one. And then
I'm happy
deeper
to
some
do
stuff.
part two.
I really would love to dig into more of the coaching stuff and what that looks like, because I think everybody is a bit intimidated by it at times. And then there's the other piece that you have to admit that you need help, and a lot of people won't do that. So I would love to dig into, maybe the next time, is how do you get people to crack that open and do it, in a kind, open, gentle way. That's nurturing. I think you do that so well. So, man, the last thing you can tell me your pet peeves. You're like the nicest dude, but
he's on. Hold on a second. This could be a few.
No, I got one.
Your pet peeves.
All right, my pet peeve. My pet peeve is the words "I would love to," And I hear this, all respect, I hear this a lot from loan officers and title people.
I said it this morning.
When
No
they,
big deal.
what I mean by this is that in the specific instance where it's in a sales
Yeah.
environment or a sales approach, so a sales approach using the words "I would love to." So often it's, "Hey, I would love to get together with you. I would love to buy you a cup of coffee. I would love to meet with you." And what that's all about is all about that person.
Yes.
And in my head, I'm like, well, what about what I would love?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the worst version of this I ever heard. I was interacting with this guy. He has a home inspection company, and he said to me, "Hey, Eric, I would love to get together with you so that you could tell me how we could get more business from you."
Hey, Eric, me.
In my head,
Yeah.
I was like, I wish I could write down what you just said and then show it back to you and have you really understand. Like, let's really break down those words that you just said to me. I would love to get together with you so that you could tell me how we could get. I mean, even the word get more business from you. Like, no. So, by the way, the opposite of I would love to is would it be helpful if?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look
we'll
at this
finish with that.
full
Yeah,
circle
yeah.
right here.
I got
That's
two
my
underlines under that one. I'm circling it. If I had a highlighter, I would be all over it. Man, so I relay that to I did network marketing. That was my invite to sales, right? It was network marketing, the good old Amway days, right? Would you like to buy some SA8 soap and some makeup, right? That was my thing. But you can feel somebody in network marketing a mile away.
Yeah.
As soon as they say something along the lines, "I would love to," or "Hey, I'm going to be independent one day," or whatever, And it's just like, I feel that cringe when someone says that to me, where I can feel that, as a real estate agent, when you hear, "I would love to," you know exactly what's coming next.
Right.
And you're like, "Josh, I've heard that 150 times.
Yeah, right.
Right? And so
Right.
I get that. That makes total sense. And that's great to hear as I coach LOs on what to do, right?
Yeah.
So
Tell them
that's
stop saying
amazing.
that. Yeah. As a response, it works. So if I'm like, hey, Julie, I was thinking we'd go out to dinner tonight, she'll say back, "Oh my gosh, I would love to do that." That's fine.
Fantastic.
But as an approach,
Don't start with it.
don't
Yes.
do that because it's just all about you. Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Will you coach me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
When do we start?
Yeah, right.
45 minutes
Started
ago.
like years ago. You've been coaching me. I feel like I can't thank you enough again for coming on
my
and
pleasure.
taking time out of your valuable day and everything that you do. Keep plugging in. Check out the book. You've got the Real Estate Agent's Guide to Getting Your Act Together.
That's it right there.
You've got the podcast. You got all kinds of stuff. Plug into the leading edge stuff, the coaching stuff. It is so incredibly well done, and I'm just excited for where you're going.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you for making our industry better.
Yeah.
You absolutely do.
Yeah.
Quantifiably, you do
Yeah.
that. So thank you,
Pleasure.
thank
Yeah.
you, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Yes,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it.
We will see
All right.
you next week. Thank you.